That's why, Jackie, that's why I was waiting on you.
Mr. Chairman?
We're ready.
All right. Good evening. This is a special meeting of Livingston's Planning Board. Notice of this meeting has been published in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Mr. Ratner? Here. Mr. Reaper? Here. Mr. Diner?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Here.
Mr. Dufford?
Here.
Mr. Butani?
Here.
Ms. Vishnu?
Here.
Ms. Khanna?
Here.
Chairman Fernandez?
Here.
Member Foss and Vice Chair Santola are not present. We do have our board attorney, township engineer, and planner consultant.
Thank you, Jackie. If you can please call the first matter.
That matter, Mr. Chairman, is a continued matter for Block 2100, Lot 61, 62, and 63 for 51 and 49 Overlook Road, application number 2025-11-MSUBV, Alta Asset Management, LLC.
Thank you. We have actually two hearings on for tonight. We have the 51 and 49 Overlook, and we also have 45 South Livingston Avenue. So I want to just go through the general procedures for tonight's hearings. I'm assuming most people here tonight are not here for Overlook, but I do want to go through it for both hearings. The outcome of tonight's hearings can be either an approval of the application as presented, approval with conditions, or denial of the approval. We may need more than one session for tonight's meetings. The applicant is both applicants are represented by attorneys who will explain their applications. The applicant's attorney will call one or more witnesses to give sworn testimony in support of the application. Members of the board may ask witness questions, and when the attorney for the applicant has no more questions for a witness, interested parties in favor of or in opposition to the application may question the witness about that witness's testimony. When all the applicant's witnesses have testified, if there is an entity or group formally appearing as a party in support of or in opposition to the application, that party may call witnesses. When all the witnesses of all the parties have been heard, members of the public may give sworn statements for or against the application. When reaching this decision, the board may only consider sworn testimony and evidence introduced as part of the record. The applicant must always establish that the proposed development is consistent with the township zoning ordinance that applies to the site that the applicant wishes to develop. In addition to site-specific ordinances, there are other provisions of the township ordinances and regulations that may be applicable. Again, the applicant must meet those requirements. So for the first application for 5149 Overlook Road, is there anyone here other than the applicant that wants to enter a formal appearance? Yes.
Dougherty, professional planner here on behalf of A.Y. Strauss, Rosemary Stone Dougherty, for 42 Overlook across the street, the Hakua family.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
But you're not an attorney?
No, I'm a professional planner.
Right, okay. So you're appearing on behalf of a resident. Okay, great. All right. Thank you. You're welcome to enter your appearance and make your opening statement.
Thank you. Diana McGovern from the law firm of Gascio and Pomaco on behalf of Alta Asset Management. We're back. We were in front of the board on June 12th with a proposal to raise both houses on what was 3 lots and do a 3-lot subdivision, but we listened to the comments of the board and the neighbors, and I think we're back here with a better plan. We are requesting that the lot line be moved to create 2 large lots and to build 2 one-family homes, which are actually larger in square footage than the zone allows, which is one of our variances. We have 2 variances that we would require. The lots that we are proposing, lot 62.01, would be 35,023.8 square feet, with a house that would be 5,520 square feet, and that would be lot 49, the first one on the cul-de-sac. using the existing driveway that's already there. And then this is a little bit of a different situation because we have a permanent easement for the back lot which for that property, which would be lot 6101, that square footage we're proposing would be 38,567.5 square foot with a 5,800 square foot home on it. That's number 51. What is odd about this block is on one side of the street is an R1 with an R2 overlay. So these size homes are pretty much the rule and in permitted. But on our side of the street, it's R3, which doesn't allow houses greater than 3,500 square feet, even though most of the houses on that side of the street are in excess of the 3,500 square feet. So I have two witnesses tonight, Mr. Wizakowski, Camille Wizakowski, the managing member of Alta Asset, and Charles Baldanza, our expert. He wears three hats. He's an architect, an engineer, and a planner, licensed in the state of New Jersey in all three of those areas. So we are requesting a minor subdivision approval for 2 lots and bulk variances for maximum habitable floor area for each house and maximum front yard because of the topography where the houses would be set back. Of note is we are not requesting a habitable floor area ratio. We far and away have so much property that we don't even come close to that.
Now, one of the homes does not face a public street, correct?
That's correct.
So you'll need a variance for that as well.
Well, yes, for both of them because of the front yard situation.
So
where
the
we-
setbacks plus that other one as well?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, where we have an existing easement, a perpetual easement that we've provided to the board. So we were, the last time, and we're working off of Mr. Wizakowski was going through, and we're going to call Camille back. I did supply to the board the chart. You had asked for a chart. I did provide copies. I think you handed them all out. Okay, great.
And we'll mark that A1.
Perfect. Okay, Camille, we're going to start with you, and I think we're going to work off this chart so that the board members can have a good idea of what we're proposing.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so Camille, we covered the last time, you're the contract purchaser. and
Richard, do
what
we need
was-
to swear him in again, or is he still sworn? Okay, just want to make sure.
You acknowledge that you were under oath?
Yes.
Okay, so the last time we went through that you're the contract purchaser and that currently there's 2 homes on the property that are situated in such that they're set back way far due to the topography. Now, what have we done and have we changed the application based upon neighbor concerns and in response to what we were listening to from the board? How has the plan changed?
So the plan changed that we are no longer seeking to keep the 3 tax lots as they were drawn on the tax map, and we would do a lot line adjustment to create 2 larger lots, as you mentioned. And we are proposing 2 larger homes that are in line with the surrounding neighborhood.
Okay. So why don't we describe, what is anticipated with the proposed homes? How many bedrooms and the like? And, well, you know what, let's start with the area and comparing it to the surrounding areas. Maybe you can use the tax map, and then we can go through, I think, page 3 of the handout that we gave.
Sure.
To go through. Do you want to point to the lots as you're describing them, and the board can follow?
Pull them up?
Yes, please. Okay, so to make it easier for the board, we'll put page 4 of the handout up on the screen. And then, this is the tax map. Well, no, we're getting there. He's getting there. The date of these plans that we submitted, I'm sorry. Let me get that for the record while he's finding that. Yes. Yeah, SP1, SP3. Okay. All right, so now, this would be what we see on page 4 of the handout, but we're going to go through from page 3. If you could point, we have the site up.
Yes.
Could you take us through the sizes of the lots in the immediate vicinity and the habitable floor area ratios that we've discerned from the tax records?
Should we mark this as Exhibit A2? Color
No, I
on
don't
it.
think we have a colorized version of this, as long as we mark this A2.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so right next door is lot 64, which is 43 Overlook. That lot is 19,880 square feet. The home on it is 3,337 square feet off of the tax record. Next door to that is lot 65, 37 Overlook. The lot size is 24,441 square feet. The home is 5,559 square feet. Then we have lot 67, which is 35 Overlook. The lot size is 27,671 square feet, and the home habitable floor area is 4,188 square feet. Then we're going to go over to this one, it's 69, which is 59 Overlook. That is one of the other remaining homes. That lot is 39,330 square feet, and that is a similar home in size to what we are in contract to purchase. And that home remains at 2,123 square feet. We're moving on to lot 68.03 over here. That lot is 25,264 square feet. The home is 5,828 square feet. Moving forward, we have lot 68.04. The lot size is 27,704 square feet. The tax record shows that the house is 8,374 square feet, although from looking at it, just sort of an eye test on it from the street level, it seems that the topography is going back a little bit, and there may be an above-ground basement that's being added to that habitable floor area. So my assumption is that that house is equal in size to 68.03, so I would assume it being closer to 5,800 square feet. And that
Can I
tax.
ask you a question about, you're referring to what's on the tax records as habitable floor area.
Correct.
But it refers to it as building square footage. Do you know if it includes basements and garages?
Well, that's a great question, and I don't have that confirmation, although if you go on the street and you look at the houses, for example, how, lot number 64 is 3,337 square feet as the building square feet on the tax record. If you were to take away the two-car garage in the basement, the house would be probably 1,500 square feet, and that's just an inaccurate assumption.
Well, what about just the garage?
That would be about 450 square feet. Even that, the houses are,
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're
Very
comparing
large.
apples to apples. So you're
Yeah.
giving us, for your comparative, your habitable floor area is net of garage, net of basements.
it's not net of basements,
It includes the basement?
does not include the basement.
That's what I mean, it's net of
Okay,
basement.
does not include the basement,
Right.
but it does include garages up to, beyond 450 square feet, which is the town ordinance on that.
Okay.
And then we're moving over here, 68.04, I'm sorry, 68.05. That lot is 28,749 square feet. That house is 5,000 square feet off the habitable floor area. And then we have lot 68.06, which is 25,003 square feet, and the home is 5,155 square feet.
Okay. So now, if you could describe the anticipated proposed homes. We don't have any draft architectural plans, but could you describe the use of materials and how they'll be integrated, how they'll look in comparison to the other homes?
Sure. In terms of the exterior design, we will really take into consideration the surrounding homes, which have much more of a stucco facade with stone accents, which is what we're going to maintain in developing our homes. I've done a number of projects in town, and, you know, a lot of the building materials we use in the R4, R3, and R2 zones is a lot of hardy plank board siding with board and batten, which I think is beautiful, but I don't necessarily think it may fit into this particular neighborhood. So we're going to do our best to maintain that from the exterior.
And how many bedrooms do you anticipate in each home?
So on the first, as you walk into the first floor, we're gonna have a one-bedroom on the first floor with an ensuite for any sort of guests or parents that may be more elderly that can utilize that type of ensuite. We'll have a formal dining room, formal living room, open area for living family area, and then an office for the stay-at-home family, work-from-home family. And then upstairs, we're going to have 5 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms available.
Okay. And how about parking? What size garage and,
We will have 3-car garages in each one of the homes.
okay. And are you going to be doing the development and construction of the new homes?
Yes.
Now, I know the neighbors were concerned about how the construction was going to proceed. What do you anticipate how you would access the property for construction, assuming you'd be working with the building department within those restrictions? What is the plan?
Sure. So we would have the plan would be twofold. First, we have access off of Sunset Road in the rear of the property, which is at the top of the topography of the property, so there's no slopes that would be any runoff or anything like that. So we'd like to utilize that access point if possible. And secondly, we would like to access the point of the driveway off of 49 Overlook, which is in the cul-de-sac and not in the easement. So we would minimize any effects on the neighboring homes.
And the number of trees, I know we're going to follow the tree ordinance in the town, but is there a plan to keep a lot of the trees that are already existing on the property?
Yes, we'd like to keep the trees in the front between the driveways and on the front slopes. We would not disturb those whatsoever. We would need to remove several trees where the footprints of the homes would be, but in order to keep the slopes intact, we would not be disturbing any of the trees in the front.
Okay. Then, would you understand that any future activity, if there was another variance that popped up, you'd have to come back in front of the board for review, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. And now, with respect to the homes, do they comply with the habitable floor area ratio in terms of the size of the homes to the size of the property, and this neighborhood in terms of those comparison?
Yes, we would certainly comply with that, and we'd be on the lower end of habitable floor area ratio in relation to this neighborhood.
Okay. I have no more questions, but the board members probably do.
Board, have any questions for this witness?
I just wanted to ask you, both the homes that you're proposing, the entrance will be through the easement?
No.
No, there would be the existing access points that currently exist. 49 Overlook currently ties into Overlook Drive, which is on the end of the cul-de-sac, and 51 Overlook uses the access easement that's dedicated to 51 and 59 Overlook.
Both of these houses, after, assuming the subdivision is approved, are still going to be in the R3?
Correct.
And if they were in the adjacent zone, would they still require the variances, or would they meet?
They would meet on buildability. I'm not sure if the front setback would meet because the topography, the houses are set back more than 60 feet from the front, and so that may require variance, but if they were in the R1, we would not require any habitable floor area variances.
So that would not, habitable floor area would not be required.
That is correct.
And the difference between where you are is across the street.
If the board wants to refresh their memory, I do have a picture which might help you, which I can hand up. The driveway already all the way on the left, it's the driveway that would remain the easement you can see here, and then you can see a piece of the house across the street that starts the other zone. So I don't know whether I can, if
You want me to mark that as A3?
okay.
We'll mark that as A3.
I actually have 2 copies of it, so if, how come I have 3? I have a lot of copies. I don't know if you want to mark one and then hand them up this way. Oh, you already have it. I'll
You mentioned the habitable floor ratio is gonna be less, what, so what is
Correct.
it?
So our, the habitable
We have
floor.
numbers between 5 and 30%, right?
Sure. So our proposed habitable floor area ratio is going to be 15.76 on lot 62.01 and 15.04 on 61.01. And that's on page 3 of the table on the bottom.
I have a quick question. The access to the one lot is through the existing 40-foot wide access and utility easement. Who owns the utility easement? Are there utilities in the easement currently?
The owner is 59 Overlook, and there is a perpetual granted access through the deed on that, and I'm not aware of what utilities may be under that. Maybe Charlie can refer to that. There is a fire hydrant there marked on the access to 51 Overlook, right there. I can confirm that the power lines are overhead. You know, there may be gas underground, but I'm not certain of that.
I'm looking at the deed and the easement. I'm not seeing who. Let me look through that.
59.
Do you know what the paved width of the cartway in the easement is?
Yes. I have a photo of that. Charlie, do you have a photo? I believe it was right around 28 feet.
28?
Right
I'm
around.
just looking at it with the way it's depicted on the plan, and if you look at the 17-foot width on the driveway, it seems that
Yeah.
it's scaled smaller than that.
I'd have to double check on that, unfortunately.
You need the plan?
No.
Do we have a copy of the?
Sorry, I have that.
The
It's,
easement
it's,
with
sorry,
the application.
sorry, I was wrong. The easement currently sits at 180 inches. That is 15 feet wide.
It's 15 feet,
Correct.
15 feet.
Counsel, if you need
Did we-
another copy of the deed, I
I
can.
would ask if we had our fire official look at that, because typically 15 feet's the minimum for emergency vehicles.
Right, but this is the easement.
Yeah, the easement's 40 feet, but there's a 15-foot cartway for access.
We should probably have 20 feet.
Yeah. That's what I was looking, it scales less than the 17-foot width of the driveway.
So it would have to be paved wider? That would be a condition then?
Yes.
Yeah, that's up to the board.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Valerio, did you want another copy of the easement deed?
Has it been submitted?
If we already submitted it, yes, okay.
So increase the easement with 20 feet.
Or the paved width.
Hold on, you have another house.
Well, the easement describes it as, I think it's 20 feet, more than that. It's,
I can show you guys on the map if it would be helpful. So over here, we have 69 Overlook, lot 69 and lot 61, which is the one we're purchasing. This is the access easement all the way down. This driveway is 180 inches all the way down, and then our driveway pops off right over here into this site. So it's about halfway down. The easement is our access point, and then as you go further down is the driveway to this house continues onward here, and then there's a paper street in between these that doesn't exist.
Is there anything prohibiting you from widening the paved area to 20 feet?
But just to be clear, are we talking about widening it to where the two driveways branch out? You're not gonna widen it all the way to the house and back, right?
Yeah.
To the end of that point.
To the end of the point?
To the point where the two come
Yeah.
together? Yeah.
I'm looking at the survey that was provided with the easement, and it's showing a 40-foot wide access utility easement.
See that.
So I think that based upon the description, that if we have to widen it, we would have permission because that's what the easement, we could go up to. So if it's supposed to be 20-foot wide and we have to do the paving for that, we can do that
Okay,
based
great.
upon what we have rights to.
So that would be to the end.
Right.
Thank you, Craig.
This is out, she's out.
Okay, so I don't know if there's any other.
Andrew, any other concerns, questions right now?
That's it.
Jeanette, you also mentioned in the engineer's memo that was there a discrepancy on lot sizes? Has that been resolved? Let me just. Yeah, let me just pull that out also.
I think that was resolved in this iteration of the plans.
All right. If not, they'll just make it a condition that, to require that, whatever be clarified, be clarified. Are there any other members, any questions from the board? Any questions from the public as to this witness, as to his testimony? And name and address for the record.
Alexander Dougherty, 136 Route 10 East Hanover, Dougherty Planning Development Professional Planner.
You got
It's
that,
just-
Richard?
Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Dougherty. Dougherty. For purposes, just kind of in order from testimony, we talked about preserving as much landscaping as possible. When we talk about the trees and so forth, I want to just make a clear distinction, particularly on lot 62, proposed lot 6201. It's nearly a 30-foot difference in elevation from the easement and the property across from the easement. The height, just for the board's aware of what a building can be in the zone, is 35 feet. So the base of the floor of that property, that proposed building, would essentially be a two-story detached, and then you have that structure as well. So I think for purposes of landscaping, preserving the trees, some kind of preservation of large mature trees, account on that, and any plan going forward to ensure that those trees and vegetation down at the driveway, the bottlenecks of the driveway, the aprons, egress, and the easement, something along the lines of what kind of landscaping would otherwise, I know we talk about preserving, but trees die and they mature, at older age, they die off. Preserving
I thought I hit it,
and/or
sorry.
replacing if need be, again, because that home is already 30 feet higher in elevation, plus a 35-foot home on top of that. It's quite visual. And then the second conversation here is about the expansion of the easement. Can we just get clarity when we talk about expanding that easement, that it's on the other side, on the applicant's side of the easement and not on the adjacent side? So if they're expanding, it's on their side? If we can get clarity on that.
Yes, clarity on that is confirmed.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And in regards to the trees.
Yeah, so, if you have an answer for the landscaping
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, the answer to the landscaping question is that we do not plan on removing any mature trees outside the building footprint, if possible.
Is there any plans to and/or replace if down the road, can we have that as a condition to ensure that large mature trees will be at the foot of the driveway, given the sheer elevation?
I don't know how we could agree, because Mr. Wizakowski is going to live there. The intent is to sell it. So, I mean, yes, you could put a condition on, but I don't know how you can require someone to haul in a mature tree that's already 40 feet tall to that. That's really asking a lot. I mean, you can, I think an appropriate condition is if a mature tree dies, that something be planted in kind with the idea that something would grow that tall eventually, but how do you require something?
Is there a type of buffering that would be satisfactory?
I think the general sense native trees, evergreen trees year-round trees would be the ideal suitable, just from a screening standpoint, because at the peak of this house would be nearly 60 feet in the air, higher from grade down there. But to the council's point, I'm not saying or recommending to bring in a mature tree of 60-plus feet, but if a mature tree does die, we're not replacing a 2-foot, tree. We're bringing something in of hardiness that's going to get to that point, maybe in, keeping some kind of condition for landscaping down there. So the screening is a big concern.
In my recollection of prior testimony before this board from other experts, and please correct me, it's, planting of mature trees, they tend not to have the same survival rate.
Certainly, and I don't
Right.
recommend bringing in a 60-foot, a 50-foot tree, for the sake of the, but like to preserve any mature trees, and then if there's a plan to ensure mature trees or trees of vertical height would constantly be there. If, say, a mature tree does go down, is there plans to replace or conditions to keep the screening at that grade?
I mean, I'll just jump in with a comment with regard to what you're saying, is that, I think one of the things that perhaps the board certainly can do is require more than adequate protection for those trees during any of the construction period, hopefully to secure their survival through the construction and the new building. Again, trying to replace and/or determine a tree that is currently, I have no idea how old, but probably 30 or 40 years old at this point, to replace it is not typically something that I've seen us ever do on the board. If the tree is not touched, if a tree comes down and/or they haven't done anything to protect the trees during the course of construction, that they've done damage to them that have caused them to come down, then I think we could add some language to require something to be placed back in its stead. But under ordinary conditions, if a tree is not touched and is appropriately protected, then, how long a guarantee are you looking to have?
Well, that's the caveat, right? When we have like stormwater management systems and dry wells, it's in the deed to maintain and, make sure that they're operating efficiently and functionally, so there isn't any overflows and back and adverse effects. If some language could be put in there that mature trees have to be at the easement, I think that's kind of what we're looking for.
I don't see how you can do that. If 10 years from now, lightning strikes and kills one of the big trees.
I think that's
Replacing a tree that can be mature.
Replace a tree, let's say it's an oak tree, we can replace it with a small oak tree, but we can't go hauling in a 60-foot oak
No,
tree.
and I don't anticipate anyone to do that.
So-
That's
So the things,
overall.
for how long of a period are we talking about?
Yeah,
This house is going to be sold, and you're going to have new owners there, and, I don't think it's reasonable to expect the builder to keep coming back for 20, 30 years to replace trees. Yeah, I don't think that's reasonable.
Not the attorney. Just raising up that there's a 30-foot incline, and then there's going to be another 35-foot house on top of that, just looking down and bearing down. And there's
just,
mature
it
trees
could be-
there. I think if we can preserve and enhance that, that's the request.
I think if, to preserve it during, as Mr. Diner had mentioned, to preserve it during the course of construction, and if there's, if they die sometime shortly thereafter, that's one
And
thing.
then we're talking about expanding that easement to meet that 40 feet, and it's going in the direction of where these trees are.
Yeah, so
there's-
we would not be
yeah.
touching any of those trees. Like, that easement, to expand it to 20 feet, an extra 5 feet, we have more than enough buffer on that side. I think there's about another 12 to 15-foot buffer until the topography really escalates upwards. So I can confirm on the record that we would not damage any trees by expanding that easement whatsoever.
Is that sufficient for you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ridiculous. Okay. Anything?
Any other questions? And any other questions from the public? Seeing none, if you can call your next witness.
Thank you. I'd like to call Charles Baldanza, please.
I did not. I do.
Charlie, yeah,
Give us your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Yes, my name is Charles, middle initial L, Baldanza, Baldanza.
Thank you.
okay, Charlie, could you give the board your occupations?
Yes, I'm a registered architect, professional engineer, and professional planner licensed in the state of New Jersey.
Okay. With respect to your architectural degree, where did you receive that?
Oh, yeah, I have a Master of Architecture from NJIT, and I've had my own design firm since 2014, and my licenses are in good standing
In New Jersey?
in New Jersey.
Okay, now with respect to engineering, where was your degree from for
Well,
for engineering?
that's all together with the Master of Architecture.
And are you a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey?
I am.
And is your engineering license in good standing?
It is.
Okay, and finally, you're a professional planner?
I am.
All right, and is your license in good standing with the state of New Jersey?
Yeah, that one is too.
Have you testified previously before zoning and planning boards?
Yes, throughout New Jersey.
And I know you testified in front of the Livingston Zoning Board. Have you ever been in front of this board?
Yeah, I did, yes. I had the pleasure of appearing before this board before.
Okay. And I'd offer Mr. Baldanza as an expert in the field of engineering, architecture, and planning.
Any questions or objections from the board? Hearing none, the board accepts him as an expert in architecture, engineering, and planning.
Okay. Mr. Baldanza, did you prepare the engineering site plan for this proposed project?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and that's dated July 1, 2025?
That's the latest revision
Okay.
is that.
Okay, could you go through for the board briefly, because I know they have other, if we could go through briefly what the plan is and what the existing plan was and how we'd like the property to be, lot lines to be moved.
Yes, I'd like to start with sheet SP3. Let me just zoom out a little bit here. See how to drive this thing here. Okay. So this is my sheet SP2. This is the existing conditions plan. And a few things I'd like to highlight for the board and for everyone is the condition of the existing houses. We have 2 existing houses. So we've gotten over the fact that, we have 3 lots. As Camille mentioned, we realized that the 2 lots on the left of the screen have merged. So we have 2 houses on 2 existing lots, okay? And I'd like to focus on the orientation of the houses. As you can see, from the topo lines, we have the driveways. We have the one driveway coming off of Overlook, as described, and the other driveway comes off of the easement, the access easement going up. We have some steep topography that obviously was dealt with at the time when they built these homes. I believe they were from the 1920s, as far as we can tell from the tax records. They were built, you see the houses are not particularly oriented towards the easement. This house, in fact, seems to be facing, facing away from the easement. The front door, I believe, is over here. But you have 2 very good driveways. They deal with the contours pretty well. And obviously, they've been there as fixtures in the neighborhood for many, many years. I'd also like to point out, if you can follow my cursor, this is the property line as it is now, if we disregard that other lot. So we have kind of an eccentric shaped property line dividing the 2. Certainly, if you looked at this as one property, you wouldn't plan out
orienting the houses in these directions, and you certainly wouldn't draw a lot line where this existing lot line is. You know, you would, well, I'll show you the way you would do it. If you look at our sheet SP1, we have proposed drawing a line much more down the middle of the two properties. So we're rationalizing the configuration of the two lots, and actually we are proposing two lots that are very similar in size. And I should also point out, just as a technical matter, the point of origin of this lot line here in the southeast is right where the lot line is now. But what we've done is we've straightened it out and then and ensured that this driveway, I'll go back quickly to the SP2, was very close. If you can see where my cursor is, the existing driveway, which we intend to keep, was almost right on that property line. And so for that reason, we wanted to push this over and rationalize that lot line. So again, from an engineering point of view, the main focus we have here, as you can see from the layout, is that we're keeping these almost the entirety of these driveways. There's some proposed area here, and there's a proposed area here where we're just putting it to the access to the garages. But essentially what we're doing is we're keeping these driveways in exactly the position where they are now today. And we're also turning the houses so that they to match really every other house on the street, and pretty much every house on most streets where they face the right-of-way. So we're orienting them towards the right-of-way and the access point.
Okay, what about the topography of this property?
Okay, well, let me go to sheet SP3. That's the grading plan. And again, you have to keep in mind that what we did not prepare architectural plans. These are theoretical envelopes that if the application is looked upon favorably, obviously we will, further develop. So the grading plan, as you can see, we're confronted with the topography that we had, and by keeping these existing driveways, we're able, this red dashed line depicts the area that we're going to be disturbing, the area that needs to be disturbed to build these homes. And I think importantly, what we're doing is between Overlook and the easement and then the front of the houses, we're leaving this topography. So, there was a lot of discussion about the trees before. So we have no intention of disturbing these trees and the topography that's in between Overlook and the front of this house and the easement and the front of this house. So we think that's a very advantageous design, and we think that'll, it's great on a lot of levels. It's great because we have to do less disturbance, land disturbance, and we also think it'll help preserve the existing character of the neighborhood.
What about stormwater, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stop.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Stormwater management in terms of, I know there might, if you're up high in your building, where will what are your plans with that?
Yes, well, there's some things that I want to point out about stormwater. What we propose to do, we haven't provided a drainage plan, but spoiler alert, what the drainage plan is going to have on it is going to have, and what we're proposing to do is to have full seepage pits, so seepage pits sized so that they would take on, all of the runoff from the roof. And so we'd be putting, currently there's no stormwater, there's no known stormwater devices or anything on the property, but we are going to be putting in seepage pits. And as far as, I'll also stress, as far as soil erosion, we intend to apply to the soil district, to the Hudson Essex Passaic Soil District, and we've worked with them on many projects, and with this applicant, we've worked on many projects, and we intend to show the correct tree protection, soil stabilization measures, and I have to say they don't let anybody get away with too much, so, you know,
Currently-
I'm confident that we're gonna comply. And I also want to say about the grading, I think an important point is that we're maintaining the existing drainage patterns. So we're sort of at the crest of the hill here. From the front, of course, the grade is gonna continue to slope down towards the easement and away from overlook. And in the rear, what we've tried to do is gently grade it, so we keep the water off each other, so we want to keep the two proposed homes from having a water issue with each other, so we've graded it towards the north, so up and away from overlook, and then down the slope that's there. So both of these properties are going to grade towards the north, away from each other, and away from the neighbors. So we've been conscious to maintain the existing drainage patterns, and really make sure that there's no adverse effect on any of the adjoining properties.
So the rear yard grading will continue to go towards the wooded area, not down towards the neighbors or the easement area below, correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay. Now, I think that is, I think we went through the planner's report. I think we touched on, was there anything in the reports that we got from the engineer or the planner that we haven't addressed?
Yes, two things come to mind. One is it was brought up about the lot area, and yeah, we did have a few between the surveyor and the survey, and I won't throw anyone under the bus, but we did have a couple things, and there was about the lot size, and there was that little triangle existing lot, and I think that's what threw a couple of the numbers off. But we do have, in my opinion, we have the lot area nailed down. So I believe that issue is not an issue. And also, the engineering letter was from when we were here the previous time. I don't believe there was a new one issued. And one of the issues that came up was retaining walls, and we've designed it so that the retaining walls are well beyond the minimum distance from the property line. They don't cross the property line. So a few things like that have been brought up, and we did address them.
And what about retaining wall height?
We are compliant, as far as I know, with, as far as the height of the retaining walls.
Do you know what the tallest, what is the tallest retaining wall you're proposing?
Off the top of my head, I'm going to say 6 feet. I think we stayed under the 6 feet.
Anything over 4 feet, I believe, requires fall prevention.
Yes, we realized that we would have to provide that. And I should also say that, again, we're proposing this as a preliminary design just to show that it could be done, if the property's approved and we fully develop the plans, we would have the walls engineered, shop drawings with the correct, and we would work with the town engineer, to make sure that we're compliant with any concerns.
Right, anything up to 6 feet is fine. 6 feet and above requires a variance.
Yes.
Then anything over 4 feet requires fall protection. So if you're under 6 feet, I'm just asking really for variance purposes. So you're up to 6 feet, not exceeding, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So can I ask you a question? I've heard you now twice say that this is preliminary, but, the lots are kind of very specific in terms of retaining wall placement, retaining wall height, which is driven by the topography and the footprint. Do you envision any scenario where these footprints or these square footages of the buildings would be altered?
If they're altered, they would be smaller. So this is the biggest they would be.
Yeah, I'm asking you, are these the footprints?
Yes.
Okay, so if there's a condition that these are the footprints, these are the square footages, I think we'd want to know that, because that drives all your grading, that drives all your retaining walls. With respect to the seepage pits, have you done any geotechnical work? Are the soils conducive for seepage pits up there?
I would say that if the board were to look favorably, we would work with the engineer to make sure that the soils are have the correct percolation. I don't have any reason to believe they're not, but obviously we would make that a condition that you know.
Yeah, because quite frankly, I don't see a Plan B, so.
Yeah,
Well, as part of the application, you'll get a lot surface drainage permit for each of the lots, and then at that time, you would show your compliance with the township's drainage ordinance. So you don't necessarily need to put in a seepage pit. You could propose other drainage methods in case the seepage pit, the soils weren't conducive to it.
correct, thank you.
Jeanette, would a condition of approval being to comply with your July 7th memo be sufficient?
Yes,
To cover, cover this?
yes.
Okay.
And, sorry, and there was testimony before regarding the characterization of the neighborhood. Do you, just in terms of the table that was submitted, do you agree with the apples to apples? Are those the HFAs that were proposed for the existing houses, is that the habitable floor area, or do you know if that differs based on the tax cards?
I heard the testimony too. I mean, I reviewed the chart.
I just want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples in terms of square footage, because the tax card may not necessarily count square footage the way the ordinance does. Your representation of habitable floor area is pursuant to the ordinance calculation, correct?
Yes, mine is, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's talk about putting your planning hat on,
Okay,
okay?
sure.
And could you go through the variances that are requested here?
Okay. Yes, my understanding is that we have a total of 4 variances. We have 2 variances on each lot. So we have requested variances are for the maximum front yard setback, where this 60 feet is allowed. And we have 121 feet on the one lot, and we have, hold on a second here. We have maximum front yard, we have 67.7. So those are 2 variances, and the other 2 variances are for the habitable floor area.
Give us which lot each of those refers to.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. So, lot 61.02, we are requesting, maximum front yard is 67.7 feet. And lot 61.01, we are requesting 121.0 feet, where 60 feet is allowed on both.
What was the first lot number?
So the first lot I said was 62.01.
That would be the first one that has the driveway onto the cul-de-sac.
So on that, you're asking for a 7.7-foot variance, correct?
Correct,
And on the other one, you're asking for a 61-foot variance.
correct. Okay. And the other variances we're asking for, 1 on each lot, we're asking for maximum habitable floor area, not ratio, the maximum habitable floor area. On lot 62.01, we're asking for 5,520. And on lot 61.01, we're asking for 5,800. On both of them, 3,520 is the allowed.
And I think there's one more variance. On 6101, does not front along a dedicated public street. So I think you need a variance for that as well.
That may be the case if the board were to determine that we need that variance. I know it wasn't in the planning letter. I will say if we do, I'll defer to the lawyers, but that would be an existing condition to a certain extent because the lot already does exist.
I would say let's play it safe and get it anyway, or request it anyway.
Yeah,
see
just
what
put the
board wants
proofs
to do
on
with
the
it.
record.
Okay.
If you're expanding an existing non-conforming condition, you need a variance.
Well, are we expanding? Okay. We're not expanding it, we're using the same exact entrance, so it's pre-existing, but we'll.
Aren't you expanding the size of the house?
True, okay, so we're going to cover that as a C1 or 2, however, I guess
Okay.
C2.
Very good, then, we can do that. So now we've established that. So the site, let's talk about the suitability of a site for the project. This site is very well suited for the project, for the proposed application. We already have 2 existing single-family homes. So we know that the single-family homes can function well on the site. They're clearly allowed use in the zone. It's a single-family residential district. The proposed homes will be similar to the other homes in the neighborhood, and we're able to comply with the majority of the bulk requirements of the zone, with the exception of the requested variances.
Let's take the front yard, maximum front yard that we exceed.
Okay.
How would you characterize that type of variance, a C1 or C2?
Okay.
Or both?
I'm gonna start with that as a C1 variance. I think it counts as a C1 and C2, but let's talk about that as far as a C1 variance. I'm just gonna zoom out a little on the thing here so we can see it. So, looking at sheet S2, you can see where the houses are already set back, and you can see the topo that we're dealing with. So, as everyone on the board knows, and all of us know, the MLUL allows for the granting of a C1 variance if we have, where we can show peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties to, or exceptional undue hardship upon the applicant arising out of the exceptional narrowness, shallowness, and shape of a property, or by reason of exceptional topographic conditions or physical features, uniquely expecting a specific piece of property. I won't go through C because I'm going to focus on B, which is we have a very unique situation here with the topography, the existing driveways, and clearly the only place that the houses could be placed are where we propose them. This house is slightly closer than what we propose, but because it's at this angle, this pre-existing angle here is a little bit closer. But to really use this driveway, we need the house to be just a few feet back. That's why we need the variance on lot 62.01. What we're proposing on the other lot, 61.01, we're not going any further back than what's there. That's 121 feet, and we're keeping what's there. So not to dwell too much on it, but I think for the two variances for the setback, I think we certainly are justified by reason of exceptional topographical conditions and physical features on the lot. That being said, I'm going to move to, well, I should also mention.
Before you move on, can you go through the negative criteria on that, on the C1?
Yeah, I could. I don't see any detriment to the public good by the fact that we're setting the houses back where we're proposing because of the layout of the existing homes, and because I don't believe that you could. Quite frankly, as an engineer, I don't know how you would lay these houses out where you would have them only set back 60 feet, because I think you would create a much greater disturbance to the slope area between the front yard and the easement and the front yard and overlook if you were to maintain that to that requirement to not have the house further than 60 feet back. So I think it would be extremely detrimental if we were to be held to that standard.
Okay.
And I'll also point out, really under C1, actually I should say, now that we're considering a variance for the not having the lot on the right-of-way or expanding it, it's by reason of an extraordinary or exceptional situation uniquely affecting a specific piece of property and the structures lawfully existing thereon. That's C of C1. That's certainly a justification for why we are coming in off that access easement. So I think that also falls under C1.
Now, the other variances in terms of
Yeah.
C2, which, are there any special reasons that justify granting that relief?
Yeah, I think there are. And in fact, I think all of the variances can be justified under the C2. So as the board and everyone knows, the intent of the C2 amendment in 1984 was to liberalize the powers of the planning boards and zoning boards acting on C variance applications has to relate to a specific piece of property. This certainly is a specific piece of property and a unique piece of property. The purpose of the MLUL need to be advanced by a deviation from the zoning ordinance. The variance can be granted without a substantial detriment to the public good. The benefits of the deviation would substantially outweigh any detriment, and the variance the variance will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. So going through that, I said, you know, and certainly clear that this is a very unique piece of property, and this only pertains to this unusual piece of property with the two older homes and the unusual shape and the large size for the zone and the topography. Let's talk about the purposes of the MLUL. Purpose A, to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use of development of all lands in the state in a manner which will promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. Rationalizing these two existing lots and the construction of two new modern homes would put these properties much more closely conforming to the size and configuration of existing homes in the neighborhood. Purpose E, to promote the establishment of appropriate population densities and concentrations that would contribute to the well-being of persons, neighborhoods, communities, and regions, and preservation of the environment. There are already two homes on a subject property, and that's what we're proposing, two new homes. And the result would be, again, rationally shaped lots that have homes that are more closely resemble the others in the neighborhood. Purpose I is to promote a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. Well, I believe that in my professional planning opinion, my professional opinion in general, that developing the properties with these two new homes the way that we propose is really good civic design, because we're reutilizing those existing driveways that are there. We are increasing, we're allowed to have a 10-foot side yard setback in the R3 zone. We're maintaining 15 at a minimum. We're actually more than 15. I think we're 17. I'm gonna zoom in. I've forgotten now. We have 17.7, 16.3, so we're allowed 10. On this property adjacent to lot 64, I labeled this as 54.7. We're actually 43 to this point. Obviously, that's closer. I discovered that when I was reviewing today. But nevertheless, what I'm saying is we have a 10-yard setback. We're staying so far away from the neighbors. In the zone, there's a 40-foot rear yard setback. We're back 100 from here. I know this is just the woods and everything, but we're also back 62.3 feet on this other house. So we're able to really exceed the bulk requirements. So again, I think by rationalizing these lots and creating these new homes, we're really furthering that purpose of using creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. The public good, let's talk about that. The public good in this case is described as the immediate residential neighborhood. These variances can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. The new homes will more closely resemble the size of the majority of the homes in the immediate neighborhood. They're going to use the existing driveways. I keep saying that. We've been receptive to a lot of the comments that the neighbors have brought up, and certainly we want to be good neighbors, and I think that we are. Let's talk about the benefits and detriments. The benefit to the public good from this proposed development and the grant of the variances in creating these two new modern homes are, definitely positive. Although we're asking for a variance from the 3,520 habitable floor area limit, we're proposing the 15.76 and 15.01% on both of the lots, on lots 62.01 and 61.01. We're exceeding the minimum required. Again, I went through the setbacks. We're The roof drainage, we talked about the drainage, the underground piping, and seepage pits that we're going to be putting in. So the neighborhood's certainly going to benefit from the attractive architectural design. The new homes are going to replace the older homes that were built in the 1920s that are outdated. They're going to be built to the latest building codes and new energy efficiency standards. You heard that we're not proposing to remove any mature trees beyond the footprint of our proposed buildings. So I think in regards to the public good and the impact to our neighbors, I think it's very minimal, and in fact, I think it's much more positive than negative. So therefore, there are no detriments to the public good by the approval of this proposal.
If the variance is granted, do you think the proposed use would impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan?
No, not at all, because the goals of the master plan, the Livingston Master Plan in Section 2 are to preserve and enhance the primarily residential character of the community. That's one. Number 2 is to maintain a balance of residential, business, and public uses. And 3 is to preserve and improve the quality of life. So the replacement of these circa 1920 era dwellings with 2 new modern single-family homes for the benefit and enjoyment of its current and future residents is consistent with all 3 goals of the master plan. And since we're complying with the HFA ratio by such a substantial margin, 21% is, I should emphasize, 21% is allowed in the R3 zone, and we have 15 and change and 15 and change. So less than 16. I suspect it was never the intention of R3 zoning that we'd have lots the size that we do. That's why, that's the main factor that we just can't comply with that, it seems inappropriate to try to limit us to that number. The proposed improvement will in fact advance the goals and recommendations of the master plan, and these, again, these both variants can be granted without substantially impairing the intent and purposes.
Thank you. Board, may I have questions? I have no more questions.
Any questions from the board? Any questions? Thank you. Any questions from members of the public as to his testimony?
For purposes of engineering, I know we haven't done soil testing to see if the soil is even permeable for the seepage pits. Given the topography of this property, where would you propose any stormwater management controls to be located on the property? I know we haven't gotten there.
Okay, I'm going to propose that they go in the rear yard because, again, we're preserving so much of the front yard that our goal is to just leave this area alone. And I wouldn't want to disturb any more just to put in a seepage pit. So we would run everything, towards the rear.
Now, if this soil is not permeable or to regulations for the seepage pit, what other, as an engineer, control devices do you have in your tool belt, your toolbox, to combat stormwater management and those kind of controls?
Well, there's several methods that we could use. Again, you have to remember in this area, and I do have quite a bit of experience working this area. We've very rarely ran into conditions where we weren't able to have a good perk. So right off the bat, I'm not super concerned about that. But for whatever reason, especially if there was some rock or something, we're certainly not in a situation where I anticipate having saturated soil. So I think it would be more of a condition where we could have some rock, but what we would do is probably spread out the system and have more of a surface system like Coltec, a Coltec brand system, which doesn't go as deep into the ground and spreads the area. So it gives us more of an area that, so we can get that perk rate and utilize that over a larger area.
And that would also be to the rear of the buildings in the backyard?
Yeah. That would even be more so because we just have less room to in the front. We definitely don't want to exceed the proposed limited disturbance that we've shown here on the plan.
Great. And then for purposes of the overall site itself, I agree with your testimony that it's a very unique site, and there's a hardship that exists because the grade is substantially steep by its character. But for purposes of the building itself, it is in the R3. We're comparing it to the R1 by scale and visual to be in continuity, if you will, the neighborhood. These homes are nearly 30-something feet in the air. The continuity is going to be hard to tell. I think the visual will be a lot larger than what the reality would be on paper for purposes of the site, given its steep topography and the slopes and the fact that it is in the R3. We're asking, and these lots are large, but they're not buildable by scale. That's why they're so large. You can't build on the steep slopes. What you have here is probably realistically the max you can put on that site as you were testifying it to, but given a good vast majority of the site is unbuildable with the sheer size of it, I understand as a planner and the land use, given the lot is larger, the building footprint could be larger, the impervious coverage could be larger, but all of this is compacted into one key area. So when we talk about a larger home on a site that's relatively steep in nature, I think from an engineering standpoint and for certainty for the surrounding residents, especially those downhill, that the stormwater management, whether during construction and after, be confined to the rear, and that the best, if not over-engineering practices could be had on that site to ensure, because these are going to be larger homes than what's historically been there, and the site is substantially steep in nature. Can we ensure that the engineering on this site isn't just the bare minimum, but it's adequate to the size of these homes, given the limited area? Because we don't have this property as a flat plane to absorb all that. If there is an issue, it's running down the hill.
Well, yeah, I think to answer your question, absolutely we can guarantee that, and I'll tell you why. Because we're not necessarily required to put a seepage bin in at all. You know, from if you purely looked at the Livingston ordinances, what the applicant is offering to do is to commit that he's going to put seepage pits in. They are going to be sized based on the homes that we're proposing, so they're going to be based on the roof area of the proposed buildings, and of course we're going to go through all the correct procedures. But yeah, so I think that very fact, and as you also heard from my testimony, we definitely intend to have the stormwater management facilities to be placed to the rear of the homes.
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
I think that in itself
Perfect. Yeah.
ensures what you're asking.
Yeah, we just want to ensure that whatever runoff, if any, if ever do come, and if there is a crazy storm like we had last night and these systems are overwhelmed, that this is as furthest removed from those slopes coming downhill as possible. I think that's the overall underlining the intent here. And then for purposes of the disturbance area, circling back to the conversation, how do you preserve that? If there's a creative solution, let's just say a 10-foot buffer at the
Again,
easement.
I don't know whether that, I don't think that's for tonight's, I mean, we don't.
But for
there's no
language
site
purposes,
plan
yeah, for
going,
purposes of
here.
preserving those
Yeah, we
trees.
have engineering that would, you know, we have to have compliance with the engineering memo, which requires them to comply with all the stormwater management rules. But there is no site plan application right now.
But I'm saying for purposes of the conversation about the trees and at the easement, in many applications, if you butt a residential or commercial, there's a buffer, and that buffer saying something along the lines of something down there be well maintained, with trees of species that grow in mature heights.
This isn't a commercial setting. This
I've
is
used it as an example,
residential. It's
Counsel.
not a site plan review, because that doesn't apply to this.
Yeah,
Just using it as an example, how do we ensure language to keep trees at that easement? I was just using that as an example.
Well, again, that gets into the question for how long and, you know.
Just well-maintained, buffer at the
Yeah,
easement.
but you're posing an obligation on, or you're requesting an obligation on somebody who's going to develop the site, turn it over to a homeowner, and then is this, an obligation that runs with the land forever that the.
Right, and we're asking
that
for
the builder has to
relief
come back for? I don't think
we're
that's
asking-
reasonable.
Yeah, we're asking for relief related to the habitable floor area as well, when we're talking about the size of the home and in that regard. So, we have a fairly large home on a fairly steep incline, by purposes of the mechanisms of control to regulate the scale, size, and massing. We have larger homes being proposed on a steep incline with no guarantees of visual intrusion.
Well, I
to
think the
neighborhood.
representation that you've gotten was that they're not going to, impact any mature trees outside of the.
Right, and we had a
building.
dialogue about how do we write something in there, or how does something do that? And I just used the example of, we have buffers, and that language in ordinances or resolutions, I'm sorry, this buffer is to be well-maintained and preserved as a buffer. If there was an interest.
I think that might be, I mean, we can certainly ask them to, to maintain a buffer at the, when,
That's it,
when, at the time during construction when they sell it, but I think to maintain it forever, I think is unreasonable. And don't you?
Well, then go back to the purpose of the MLUL, advancing purpose I, desirable visual environment, is looking at basically a castle on a hill, a desirable visual environment. I mean, that's subjective in nature, what you deem as desirable versus not, but the truth of the matter is people live at the bottom of this hill. They have to look up and see this every day, and that privacy as well, and there are species that can be
Do
up
you
50,
have any more
60
questions
feet.
for this witness?
No, that's it, just the storm, water management, to get some kind of continuity where the location was going to be.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Can we add just a condition of approval that the stormwater management measures be installed in the rear yards?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any further?
I have no other witnesses.
Well, thank you. Any members of the public wish to make sworn statements for or against the application?
Hi, my name is Mansi Huku. I
Can
had
you-
a question.
Can you spell that?
MANASI
Okay,
HUKKU.
thank you.
I have a question about process.
Yeah, you have a question for the witness, okay.
No, about process, about how the approval works. May I ask my
Oh,
question?
sure,
You
go
can
ahead,
tell me
go
if
ahead.
it's appropriate or not. So our attorney was here last time. Today, she was supposed to be here. She had a medical emergency. Is it possible, I know she had emailed yesterday as well with some questions to council here. We didn't get a response yet. Is it possible at all for her to review tonight's discussion on the recording and see if she has any objections? Because there were a few things added in terms of an additional variance, which was not discussed before. The easement is being,
Well, that's really not the, I mean,
I just wanted, I don't know, so I'm just asking.
it's really not the process. I mean, well, I'll ask the board whether they're ready to vote on the application. If they
Okay.
are, they'll vote on, the board will vote on it tonight.
Okay.
And then, subject to putting a memorializing resolution together.
Okay, so there's no chance for her, because she had an emergency.
That's-
she's in
If
the
the board
hospital.
doesn't want to vote on it tonight, that's really up to the board. If the board is ready to vote on the application tonight, they'll vote on the
Okay, so
application
that's
tonight.
the process. All right, I just wanted to check
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Did we get her address, Rudy?
My address is 42 Overlook Road.
Thank you.
She was kind enough to try to send her son, who's a planner, to support us
Sure.
for tonight, but it made me uncomfortable, some of the new things that were added. And then I just wanted to say, I believe that the area,
So if you're going to give some testimony, can you
Okay,
swear
sorry.
swear her in?
Will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
I've heard that the area, I'm not a soil expert, I don't know. I have been told that the area up there behind the houses is quite rocky. I think I heard someone had to put a pool in, they had to take out all the rocks in order to put the pool in. I don't know anything factually, this is just something I've heard, so just something to bring up. I think you already asked that they comply with all the regulations of the drainage, but just something I wanted to mention.
Yeah, I think what you heard of the representation, certainly from the applicant, and, we have a very good engineering department, which will be, reviewing,
Perfect.
all the calculations and the submissions to make
Okay.
sure that they comply with all the stormwater management rules.
Okay,
So
great,
that,
thank you.
will be looked at carefully. So, one of the things I know it's important to engineering, it's important to, to us, the governing body, is, you don't want to create a condition that, creates water, any type of problem for your neighbors, including, water, where you may not have had that problem in the past.
Thank you.
So it's a concern that's, always on everybody's mind.
I appreciate that, thank
Sure.
you.
Sure thing. Yes, sir.
Good evening, my name's Eric
Eric Sachs. I'm 43 Overlook Road. I believe it's lot 64, which is if you're facing the site, it's the lot to the left. First name is Eric, E-R-I-C. Last name is Sachs, S as in Sam, A-C-K-S as in Sam.
You want to,
Should I just proceed with my questions, or?
well, do you have questions for the witness? or
Well, I just have some
or
general,
you make- because we're at the-
well, I'm not sure the procedure, so I'm up here kind of asking what the next steps are, because I do have some questions about what was presented tonight, some concerns. So I don't know if now's the time for you to voice those
So
concerns.
if you want to make a public statement for or against the application, this is the perfect time. If you can swear in the witness, please.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So my first question is, the landscaping to the left of the retaining wall that was on the map there, is a retaining wall, it looks like you plan to put up between the new home and my home? If I can point to it. This is my house here. This is a retaining wall that looks like it's being put in. Okay. So where I was just pointing, that's a retaining wall, and then my lot would be adjacent to it, lot 64. And there's a lot of trees and natural landscape that shield and provide privacy between my house and the house next door. So I was just curious if all of that would remain intact to the left of that wall?
Yes, that would not be disturbed.
Okay, great.
As much as possible.
Amazing. The widening of the driveway is a concern a little bit, because that would now start to encroach toward my house. Obviously, it's still that property, but that is a little bit of a concern in terms of parking cars on the street in front of my house and things like that. So I just want the board to be aware that as that driveway is expanded, it does encroach
Just
toward my property. Doesn't mean it is my
driveway-
property.
The driveway that's of the house right next to you is not what's being expanded. It's the one at the end that goes,
It's the one where the easement is?
Yes, that's
So the
correct.
the driveway right next to me stays the same?
That's correct.
My apologies. Another minor concern is we are a little close to 280, so there is some noise that comes through from the highway, and the natural landscape and the trees and so forth do provide some sound buffer. So a concern, even though I understand there's going to be an attempt to conserve as many trees as possible, drainage is a concern, visual appeal is a concern, and noise is also a bit of a concern. Because I do feel like that the trees and the forest, and there's actually a park behind this site, which I don't know the name of the park exactly, but it's protected land where there's trails. It's an official part of the Livingston Park system that's right behind this project. So I would also just like to make the board aware of the presence of that park and that not be infringed upon or disturbed.
Yeah, that certainly wouldn't be impacted.
Okay. What else? Manasi was saying, I did put in a pool, and there was a tremendous, it cost me an absolute fortune to excavate literal boulders. It's a mountain. I'm not sure if there's an appreciation for how elevated this site is, but it's literally a mountain. So you're going to encounter, even if you haven't before elsewhere in Livingston, you will encounter a ton of rocks, major boulders. So that's just an FYI, because I went through it myself. So take that for what it's worth in terms of drainage. There was a comment about beautifying the neighborhood and so forth. I think one of the nice things about our cul-de-sac is the fact that the homes that are present now are actually hidden. You really can't even see them from the street at all. And so there's just beautiful natural landscape, lots of trees. It's almost like a forest at the end of the cul-de-sac. So I'm not so sure that taking that away and putting up two large houses is going to enhance the aesthetics. I don't know that would detract from it, but I think it's important to understand the natural landscape that exists, and that would definitely be a significant disturbance to the overall presentation of that cul-de-sac as it is now. So again, you can take that for what it's worth. On a similar note, again, just to emphasize the topography, my house is one of the smaller houses on these lots because I'm part of this zone as well. I think the house is 3,500 square feet, roughly. If you look at my house on the hill, it looks massive. and it is not it's not a very large home. It's a fraction of the size of some of these other homes. And so the house does present differently than its actual size. So I also think the board needs to be mindful of that, given just how high these homes are going to be. And I think, well, one other question was, and I think I know the answer, but if these variances are granted to allow much larger homes to exist within this zone, is it possible for the whole zone to then be rezoned so that if I want to add I only have a 2-car garage, I would love a third garage, but I know I can't put one in based on the zone that I'm in. I'd like to make a bigger master bathroom. I know I can't because of the zone that I'm in. If these zones are granted, if these variances are granted, I think the answer would be, well, tough luck, you'd have to apply for your own variances, but would it be possible to just then change the entire zone? I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, that would, certainly number one would be apply for a variance if you wanted to, exceed the R3 zone, number one. Number two, it's something that the governing body can always look at. We always have a member of the town council on this board, and they can, go back and discuss it with the other, members of the town council, whether it makes sense to, change the zone.
Thank you for that.
It may or may not. But that's not something for this board.
Okay, so I appreciate the consideration. The last thing I'm going to say, and then I've taken up enough of your time, is just to emphasize or try to maybe clarify what my neighbor Manassi was saying is she retained counsel, and her counsel can't be here tonight, and consequently, there's a level of discomfort moving forward with the application, at least in a final form, given the fact that her counsel has not been able to review all the information. So again, I know it's at your discretion, but there is a certain level of discomfort given the fact that she is without representation this evening due to a medical emergency. So take that for what it's worth. I thank you for your time.
Okay. Ms. Stone, Ms. Doherty Stone, was sent, as soon as we sent the plans to the board, I sent a copy to Ms. Doherty Stone. I had a conversation with her yesterday to go through the 4 points that she had concern with. Spoke with my client, went through it with the planner, and we have addressed those. So,
So what you're saying is whatever concerns she has, you addressed?
we addressed, and
Okay.
our testimony is here, and nothing is different.
Okay.
As an officer of the court, I'm representing that. I mean, it's a hearsay conversation, obviously, I'm providing you with, but she was given the revised plans. She asked me 4 different points. I left her a detailed message. I didn't realize she wasn't in the office today, but then her son was here, and I went through them with him as well, and they were covered on the record here today. So if she was here, I'm going to say this: nothing would have been changed in terms of the testimony that we presented, because it was...
Did the points that you addressed, did they satisfy her concerns?
Well, because I didn't get to talk to her, I got to talk to her son. I can tell you the 4 points. They wanted to make sure construction access was off of Sunset, and I said, my client said, and he said it on the record here, we are going to make every effort to do it that way. Better understanding of how many trees in the front would be lost. We went through that, what was going to be coming down. They would like to see a house designer know about what materials were going to be used, and my client did testify to that. And I did show her son, there is a general rendering. Last time we were here, you didn't want to see it, so I didn't bring it up this time. But it was shown, and last was the drainage system in the back, because they were concerned if the backyard is made to be usable, that the drainage wouldn't go flowing down the driveway. And as was testified here, we are going to put in seepage pits or whatever the appropriate drainage is, so that any backyard changes are going to not be flowing towards the cul-de-sac or the easement. So those were the four concerns that she discussed with me yesterday, that were covered with the planner who was here on their behalf, and which were testified to here before this board.
Okay, thank you.
A question for based on the testimony of one of the residents in the neighborhood, obviously the area has a lot of rock in it. Do you anticipate the need for blasting at any time during the course of what you're doing, or are the foundations going to fit within the confines of what's there today?
So I'd like to answer that. Upon going under contract on this property, I spoke with the current owners, and we did discuss the pool that went in next door and the method of excavation that happened, and there was no blasting, to my knowledge, that happened over there. So we've dealt with rock. I've dealt with a redevelopment in Holmdel recently where we had to clear an acre and a half, over 100 trees, and go through half of a mountain and put in 13-foot retaining walls. And we used a Cat 320 excavator, and we went right through the rock over there. We did not need to blast. So just from my personal experience and looking at the site over there and knowing that a pool went in that is, 5-6 feet deep, which is, based on where our basements are going to be, and our garages are going to be above grade. So we're not really disturbing that side. The driveways are already below grade. So my professional opinion is that no, there will not be any sort of blasting necessary.
Okay. And I know that there was a question with. Okay. That about tree removal, we already talked about tree removal in the front and that those are not going to be touched. But as part of the requirement for any tree removal, a tree removal permit has to be obtained
Yes.
from the municipality. And there's some pretty strict rules that pertain to that also offer some additional protection for the residents around you. They just can't indiscriminately come down and take all the trees down.
Any other comments, sworn testimony from the public? Hearing none. Any closing statements?
I'll just be brief. We are here for 5 variances, 2 for each house, and then a third one for where we don't have a street access. We are creating 2 very large lots from some kind of oddly shaped, very large lots to begin with, and are in keeping with the style as the testimony has been proffered with the cul-de-sac, keeping it beautiful. It is our position that we satisfy at least the front yard setback due to a hardship, a C1, but also C2 variances apply here. We've met that criteria under purposes A, E, and I, and that based upon the zone plan and the references in the master plan, that this is a wonderful project for this neighborhood and that there will not be any negative effects. In fact, the proposal will create 2 new homes that are in keeping with all the most recent codes and will be addressing any drainage issues and actually improving it there. So with that, I would request that the board grant our application.
Parties haven't had an opportunity to make closing statements, and it appears that the chair, that the applicant, all interested persons, and the board members have had reasonable opportunity to be heard, that the evidentiary record of this hearing ought to be closed. Absent objection, and in the absence of any motions for continuance, the evidentiary record is closed, and no further testimony or evidence shall be received. So the board members shall now have the opportunity to state their views on this application. Anybody want to make any comments? Richard, go ahead.
I mean, nobody likes change and everybody likes everything to stay the way it is, but I think based on the applicant's presentation, their interest in maintaining as much of the site as they're able to do, keeping the natural terrain the best they can, considering what it is, prohibiting the use of the land for development is, in my opinion, not appropriate. And as long as it's done in accordance with all of the testimony that was done here this evening, and working with the engineering department and the comments from our planner, that I think the houses being proposed fit into the neighborhood. I would also suggest a coming to the, because your comment was very pointed in, I don't think this area should stay zoned the way it is either. And that I think if you came to the town council or sent a letter to the town council to consider a change of the area in here, I think that that's a very reasonable request, and I think it's something that they would consider. All of that said, I think that the proposal as presented is reasonable and that I would be in favor of it.
So are you making a motion to approve?
I would be happy to do so with all of the variances being presented and spoken about, and whatever conditions that we have in there, primarily ensuring that we agree to the issues that are set forth in the engineering report.
Yeah, so what I have is the front yard setbacks, the maximum habitable floor area, the home not, one of the homes not fronting on a public street. Some of the conditions are the retaining walls not to exceed 6 feet, compliance with the engineering letter, all the mature trees to be maintained, the increase in the easement road to 20 feet toward the applicant's property, best efforts not to remove any mature trees outside of the footprint, the drainage in the rear of the yards, and I think the rest we can pick up from the record if I missed anything. Is there anything that I missed?
I think the only other one was we were going to keep the footprint the way it was.
Right,
and square
keeping
footage.
it, right, thank you.
Yeah, the proposed habitable floor area will not be changed or increased.
Correct.
I'll second it, and understand that. I think the original application was for 3 homes, just the last meeting. So we could have had 3 homes here. So I think putting 2 homes here, you meet, the lot size, it's ginormous, so the house fits. There's no real negative effect to the community, so I think everything Richard said, I'll second the motion.
And I would like to just add on to that, appreciate you adjusting from 3 lots to 2. As a result, it does create tremendous amount of big lot sizes. Understandable that there is a part of topology which is mountain, but also I hear consistently that you're looking to preserve the greenery around it. So that's the appreciated part of it. So, and thank you for adjusting it.
And Jack, you want to take a roll?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, alternate 1, Vishnu, is going to be voting in place of absent member Vice Chairman Santola, and alternate member Khanna will vote for absent member Foss.
Great, thanks.
Mr. Diner?
Well, and I'm not eligible to vote because I wasn't here for the first hearing, and I did not have an opportunity to review the recording.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lewis.
It was a different application.
All right, Mr.
Play it safe.
Diner?
Yeah,
Yes.
Play it safe, play it safe.
Mr. Reber? Is that a yes, Mr. Reber? What's your vote? Yes. Thank you. Mr. Ratner?
Yes.
Mr. Dufford?
I was not here for the first hearing either.
You were not present? Did not watch the tape? Okay, thank you. Mr. Botani?
Yes.
Ms. Vishnu?
Yes.
Ms. Khanna?
Yes.
Chairman Fernandez?
Yes.
Thank you, motion carries.
Okay, with that, thank you. Thank you for your comments from the public. They were very helpful in getting to a better resolution, so thank you for that. We appreciate it, and thank you. And we're going to take a little bit of a break before we move on to our next application.
I'm ready to die of frostbite.
Mr. Chairman, we're back on the record at 9:38 PM.
Thank you, Jackie. So if you can call the next matter, please.
The next matter being considered this evening is a lot merger for application number 2025-39-LM, Block 3700, lots 30, 28, 29, and 30, and application number 2025-40-PFSPV for 19-43 and 45 South Livingston Avenue, 45 Partners Urban Renewal, LLC.
Thank you very much, Jackie. And I've already gone through earlier the process, the manner in which these hearings move forward. I'm not going to go through that statement again, unless anybody has any questions about it. Happy to go through it once again. But what we refer to, would you like me to do it, Mr. Diner?
I don't remember what you said.
What's commonly referred to in the community as a Bottle King project, just so everybody's clear on what we, what this application is. So why don't we get started? So if you'd like to
Absolutely.
Welcome and make
Thank
an
you.
opening statement, that'd be great.
So great to be here tonight. My name is Derek Orth from Livingston Taylor. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, 45 Partners Urban Renewal, LLC. It's great to be here with you all in beautiful Livingston this evening. I know it's getting a little bit, a little late in the evening, so I'm going to pep it up a little bit, bring a little bit of energy here, and we're looking to at least get through, hopefully, if we can, one witness this evening. We do have two here for the board's consideration.
So that means you will not be starting with traffic.
We are not starting with traffic.
Okay.
We are not. We intend to start with civil. We do have our landscape architect here as well, should we be so lucky to get that far.
So just for timing, we'll go to 10:30.
Sure.
But if you have a witness that's finishing up at 10:20, we're not going to have you start somebody new.
No,
then,
fully
so-
understood
Okay,
and
great.
appreciated. And I just want to thank the board for considering our application this evening. We do appreciate all the time and attention which you have given this, which the town has given
And
us
just for
throughout
the members of the
process.
public, we don't expect this to be finished today. We are starting the application tonight. We are starting a little bit late because there was another application before this. But this will, we'll announce the continuation date when we get to the end.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'm going to do a little bit longer of an opening statement to kind of set the context in which this application comes before the board. This is a redevelopment project, so it is somewhat different than other applications that the board hears on a monthly or bi-monthly basis. So again, the property that is the subject of the application is known as 45 South Livingston Avenue. That's block 3700, lots 28, 29, and 30. And Mr. Chairman, as you noted, it's the Bottle King site that everyone here knows and is very familiar with. The property is located in and subject to the use, bulk, and design requirements and standards of the 45 South Livingston Avenue District Redevelopment Plan. Now, consistent with that redevelopment plan, we are proposing and we are requesting that the board grant preliminary and final major site plan approval for a mixed-use development, also including an application for lot merger, which is being heard along with this, for 226 residential units, including a 15% inclusionary housing set-aside. Unique about that is part of the affordable set-aside for this proposed community includes supportive housing units for adults with developmental and/or intellectual disabilities, which is a severely underserved population in the state of New Jersey, and it's truly one of the worthy parts of this application. I think it's unique. We are also proposing approximately just under 20,000 square feet of retail space. That's about 19,650. And of course, related site improvements, parking, landscaping, lighting, stormwater facilities, and other improvements which will be described in greater detail by our professionals. This application, as the board is aware, was not put together on a whim. It is the culmination of years of collaboration between the applicant, the township's professionals, and this board. The property, as you may know, back in 2020, was studied by the township to determine if it met these statutory criteria to be designated as an area in need of redevelopment. Your board professional, Beacon Planning, prepared a report and presented its recommendations to the board at a public hearing in 2021. The board determined at that time that the property met the criteria to be so designated and transmitted those recommendations to the governing body. The governing body adopted a resolution declaring the property as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment about a week thereafter on or about February 22nd, 2021. For the next 2.5 years, the applicant, the board, and the township professionals collaborated and worked on an appropriate redevelopment plan for the site. As you may recall, I'm sure the public here will recall, there were many public forums where the proposal for this site was discussed, presented, and evaluated by both the public, members of the township governing body, and the town's professionals. Many concerns were discussed and raised, and modifications to the plans to address those concerns were undertaken by the governing body. Those 2.5 years of collaborative and thoughtful efforts ultimately resulted in the adoption of the redevelopment plan for the subject property, which was done on or about by way of ordinance 19-2023 on November 27th, 2023. So in short, this redevelopment plan and all of its use, bulk, and design standards have been thoroughly reviewed and vetted well prior to the filing of this land use application. The applicant has also, consistent with the local housing and redevelopment law, been designated and has entered into a redevelopment agreement which governs the construction subject to the board's approval and the approval of the outside agencies which are necessary for the site to move forward. So it subjects the project to all of the standards and requirements in that redevelopment agreement. Also, I should note the project is also included as a component of Livingston's fourth round affordable housing plan, which was, of course, mandated by the state, and also assists the township in meeting its constitutional Mount Laurel obligation. As I mentioned earlier, uniquely, some of the affordable units in this community will be supportive housing for adults with developmental and/or intellectual disabilities, which I noted is unfortunately one of the most underserved populations here in the state of New Jersey, and we're going to provide some testimony when we get to the architecture plans at a later meeting in that regard. So I took a little bit of time here to present the context of this application because it's, something unique. It's a redevelopment project that has, seen many iterations over the past several years. It has been long planned for, it has been thoughtfully designed by both the township and the applicant, and by its very nature, it accomplishes many of the goals in the township's master plan, including the revitalization, that's a hard word to say when it's 9:30 at night, revitalization of a site which has been declared as an area in need of redevelopment. It provides affordable housing, and it also promotes economic growth. As we indicated in our notice, we do not currently contemplate, nor do we anticipate any deviations, variances, or waiver relief from any of the use, bulk, or design criteria in the redevelopment plan. And we may have some issues to work out there with the board professionals in that regard, but we believe we have addressed and presented a plan which is consistent with all of the requirements in the redevelopment plan. So, with that in mind, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I have at least one witness here for the board's consideration this evening. That's Mr. Sam Wali of Dynamic Engineering. He is our civil engineer, and he will start us off once he is sworn in with an overview of existing conditions, moving on to proposed. Going forward, we do have landscape architecture, we have traffic, and we also have our architect who will close out when we get to that point, not for this evening. Okay, so without further ado, unless there's any questions, Mr. Chairman, I would request that my witness be sworn in, and we can get started.
Raise your right hand, sir. You swear the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please give us your full name and spell your last name.
Full name is Sameh Wali. Last name is W-A-L-I.
Okay, and before I qualify you as an expert, I just want to confirm we have received and reviewed the engineering review of April 29th, 2025, the lot merger review of May 1st, 2025, the planning review of May 7th, the traffic review May 1st, the fire division letter of May 6th, the environmental commission review of May 8th, and we also had a separate memo from Water and Sewer Department, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So, Mr. Wali, briefly, please provide the board with an overview of your professional qualifications, confirming that your license is in good standing in effect in the state of New Jersey, and give us a handful of towns in which you have been accepted as an expert in the field of civil engineering.
Absolutely. I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. License is in good standing and current. I graduated from NJIT with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering. I'm a project manager at Dynamic Engineering. I've testified before various boards, including Summit, Union, Homedale, Linden, and Hazlitt, most recently. And I have over 7 years of experience as a site civil engineer.
Thank you, Sam. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would proffer him as an expert in the field of civil engineering.
Any questions or objections? Any questions or objections from the board? Thank you. Accepted by the board as an expert in civil engineering.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Sam, why don't you move over to the laptop? We do have one exhibit from Sam this evening to present to the board. My understanding is it is a colorized and rendered site plan, which is not part of the submission packet, so would be an exhibit once it is put on screen and we move it into the record as such.
Yeah, just wanted to make a quick note. Even before getting into the colorized rendering, I did want to bring up the aerial map just to discuss the existing conditions. This aerial map exhibit is dated July 15th, 2025. Scale of 1 inch equals 100 feet. North pointing to the left-hand side of the sheet, and is very similar to the aerial map that was included within the site plan package. This is essentially just repurposed for the purpose of this hearing as an exhibit
Okay,
to
so,
present to the board.
Mr. Chairman, we'd like to have this marked as A1, if we may.
All right, colorized rendering, is there?
This is an aerial
This is the aerial
overview.
exhibit.
Aerial?
Yes.
This is the aerial map exhibit. The colorized rendering will be
Thank you.
subsequent.
Okay, Sam, why don't you, when you're ready, why don't you take us through existing conditions?
Absolutely. The site is located at 45 South Livingston Avenue, County Road 527, and is identified as Block 3700, lots 28, 29, and 30. The site is outlined in red at the center of the screen and is within the 45 South Livingston Avenue District redevelopment area. The site is approximately 6.4 acres in size. Just quickly going through the surrounding uses to the south, we have the Valley Bank, residential dwellings to the southeast, Arden Road, and the B1 zone beyond. To the west is South Livingston Avenue, and commercial properties within the B and B1 zone. To the north are commercial uses as well, East Mount Pleasant Avenue and the LTC zone beyond. To the east are single-family residential dwellings, the Sherbrooke Parkway, and the R4 zone. Wanted to note that the majority of the existing property is developed with 2 commercial retail buildings, associated site improvements included, such as paved parking, walkways, lighting, landscaping, et cetera, just typical standard commercial development improvements. In addition, there are 3 existing driveway curb cuts along South Livingston Avenue. Also did want to note that there is cross-access between all 3 of these lots under existing conditions for pedestrian circulation. In addition, the site generally, in terms of grading, the site generally slopes downward from the north to the south, with stormwater runoff being collected by a series of on-site inlets, which is then conveyed into the stormwater conveyance system within the South Livingston Avenue right-of-way. That's just a very brief overview of the existing conditions.
And as you
if anyone
go,
has any-
just, Sam, as you go through your proposed conditions, we did submit an omnibus response letter to all of the board professional reports. When you reach a point where there's something you want to discuss in particular, just make a note of that so the board professionals can keep track of that as well.
Sure thing. Yeah, assuming no further questions are on the existing conditions, I did want to bring up the proposed conditions with the site plan rendering. So this site plan rendering is dated July 15th, 2025, scale of 1 inch equals 30 feet, north pointing to the left-hand side. And this was not previously submitted before the board, so we would like to mark this as Exhibit A2.
Which sheet of the site plan is that?
This was not previously submitted, but this is essentially a colorized version of, I believe it was sheet 6 of the site plan. It would be the actual site plan sheet itself. I'll just confirm that for you right now, too. Yes, sheet 6 of the site plan. So this is essentially just a colorized version of sheet 6 of the site plan that was submitted before the board with the landscaping superimposed. Okay, so getting into the proposed site conditions. Applicant is proposing a 5-story mixed-use building with a 2-story underground parking garage, which is a permitted use within the redevelopment plan. This consists of 226 dwelling units and 19,650 square feet of retail. The proposed development is intended to be completed in a single phase during construction with a timeline of approximately 2.5 years. Also proposing to consolidate lots 28, 29, and 30 as part of this development, which was submitted as a lot merger application to the Township Engineering Office. The project complies with all bulk setback requirements outlined in the redevelopment plan. Quickly just running through the bulk requirements to demonstrate compliance. The minimum lot area is required to be 6 acres. The existing and proposed development will consist of 6.40 acres. Minimum street frontage along South Livingston Avenue, 550 feet is required, whereas 724.2 feet is existing and proposed. As for the minimum front yard setback, 0 feet is permitted, whereas 16.8 feet is existing and 2.7 feet is proposed. The average front yard setback, which was a question that came up during, I believe, the planning review letter, 5 feet. The proposed average front yard setback is calculated to be 7.8 feet. Minimum side yard setback to adjacent commercial developments of 40 feet is required. Under existing conditions, it's actually an existing nonconformity with 37.8 feet existing. And this was brought into compliance with 71.3 feet proposed for side yards to adjacent commercial properties. Side yard to non-commercial adjacent properties, 50 feet required in the redevelopment zone, and 109.5 feet is proposed. As for the minimum rear yard setback for the parking garage, 80 feet would be required, whereas 80 feet is proposed. The residential building for the rear yard setback, 100 feet is required, whereas 100 feet is proposed. Maximum building height of 60 feet is permitted, where 60 feet is being proposed. As for building coverage, we are permitted up to 60%, and 40.2% is proposed, which is also compliant. As for impervious coverage, we are permitted up to 90% within the redevelopment plan, and 84.17% is proposed, which is a slight increase from the 76.7% that's existing, but nonetheless still compliant. As for the parking setbacks as well, parking setbacks range from 0 feet up to 28 feet, depending on the property line we're looking at. So between South Livingston Avenue, the southern property line, eastern and northern property lines, again, we do conform and comply with those requirements as well. Moving into parking, we are proposing 9-foot by 18-foot parking spaces, which is compliant with the RSIS requirements referenced in the redevelopment plan. There are a total of 481 parking spaces required, once taking credit for the proposed EV spaces. There are 500 parking spaces total proposed, which includes 15 ADA parking spaces and 80 electrical vehicle parking spaces. Of that 500 spaces, it is comprised of 310 spaces within the garage with 190 spaces on surface level parking. In addition, there are 3 loading and refuse pickup areas proposed. These are scattered throughout the site, one being at the northern facade of the building where the cursor is pointing now, the next being at the southeastern corner, and the last being adjacent to the special needs and retail portion at the southwestern side of the site. As for access and circulation, we're proposing 2 full movement driveways along South Livingston Avenue for site access with a boulevard entrance for the motor court entrance at the center of the site for a total of 3 driveways. We are also proposing 24-foot wide drive aisles around the perimeter of the site for full movement circulation, which again conforms with the township requirements. Additional testimony will be provided in regards to the circulation and the comments from the traffic consultant by the traffic engineer at a later hearing. Moving into grading, the proposed grades follow the existing slopes to the greatest extent possible. So as noted previously, under existing conditions, site does slope from north to south consistently throughout, and that grade was essentially followed as part of the proposed design. In addition, the site was designed for ADA compliance, so ADA accessible walkways, landings, ramps are provided throughout the site to provide accessibility along the frontage as well as the retail spaces as well. As for signage, site signage specifically, we are proposing one freestanding monument sign at the motor court entrance at the center of the site. That sign is proposed to be 24 square feet with a sign height of 4 feet. As for landscape and lighting, did want to note that there are a total of 165 trees being removed, with 98 trees being proposed. That deficit will be covered as part of the Township Tree Fund and tree removal permit. Additional testimony on the proposed landscaping will also be provided by the landscape architect. Site is proposing to maintain a 28-foot buffer along the rear. That would be the eastern property line for the residential neighbors to maintain the existing vegetation, which again will be discussed in more testimony by the landscape architect. As for lighting, we are proposing 44 pole-mounted decorative LED fixtures. The proposed poles are going to be 14 feet in height for the mounting height of the light fixture, whereas 18 feet maximum is permitted, which also does comply. We're also proposing 68 decorative building-mounted fixtures to illuminate the pedestrian areas as well. Did want to note that there is minimum light spillage on the adjacent commercial properties. However, there is no light spillage being proposed along the residential lot lines to the southeast as well as to the east of the site. And overall, the lighting is designed to be compliant with the township requirements and also provides adequate site lighting for safety, security, and minimizing off-site glare. Moving into drainage, the proposed project is classified as a major development and has been designed to comply with the requirements outlined in NJAC 7:8. Overall, the proposed development improves stormwater quality, water quantity, and groundwater recharge when compared to the existing conditions, and that's being done through the use of 2 proposed small-scale infiltration basins that are underground at the eastern and southern pavement areas. As pretreatment before runoff works its way into these 2 basins, there are 3 Filterra manufactured treatment devices being proposed to pre-treat the runoff before it's conveyed into the infiltration basins. In addition, the drainage design also does conform with the green infrastructure requirements outlined in NJAC 7:8. Did want to note that our office received the review letter from the Township Engineer's Office and has already provided responses specifically to the drainage questions they had, which we feel were satisfied and addressed. But obviously, we'll work with the Township Engineer's Office to finalize any other comments or concerns that come up along the way during the review. As for utilities, we're proposing gas, electric, water, and sanitary connections made directly into the existing services within South Livingston Avenue. Our office did review a review memo from the water and sewer consultant, and we will work with their office to make sure that we address any of the concerns or comments they have as part of resolution compliance.
Okay, Mr. Wally, you heard my opening statement. Is it your opinion that the application as submitted is consistent and compliant with all of the requirements in the redevelopment plan?
Yes.
And you have designed the site drainage and stormwater infrastructure consistent with DEP requirements, correct?
That's correct.
Are there any other outside agency approvals that we need to obtain in connection with this project? And have you
Yeah.
taken them into consideration in your design?
Yeah, that's a great question. We would be required to have approvals from Essex County Planning Board as well as the Hudson Essex Passaic Soil Conservation District, and submissions to both those agencies have been made, but we are still undergoing review and will satisfy any comments as they come up.
And as this board, I'm sure, is aware, Essex County typically doesn't take any action on an application until the local board takes action on it. So we can certainly stipulate to conditions of approval should the board act favorably on this application at a later date. Other than that, I had no further questions for Mr. Wally on direct, and I tender him over to the board and the board's professionals.
You did mention traffic circulation. I'm assuming the traffic circulation questions will be for your traffic engineer?
Yes, they will.
Okay. Are there questions from members of the board?
Just a couple of quick clarifying questions. I think you mentioned something about driveways. How many driveways you mentioned in and out of Livingston Avenue?
So we're proposing 3 driveways. 2 are going to be full movement. So that's going to be on the northern side, if you can see the cursor, as well as the southern corner. And the 3rd driveway is this boulevard entrance that's essentially a one-way in and a one-way out.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Also, you mentioned trees, and I know there is a landscaping testimony we'll have, but you mentioned the numbers, cutting down more than planting. There was a discrepancy that just like, it struck me. Can you mention those numbers again?
Yeah, so the total, it's also in the site plan on the tree removal plan for reference. So total trees being proposed to be demolished or removed is 165, whereas 98 trees are proposed on the landscape architect's plans. I did want to note too that, like any other tree removal, that would require a tree removal permit, in addition to payment into the tree replacement fund with the township.
Okay, noted. And I think we will have, council will have a specialist landscaping
Yes,
chance
sir, we do.
for review of all these numbers and discrepancies on that.
Yes.
And one final number is, I'm trying to understand, is retail spots. In your overall numbers, you mentioned amount of retail space or spots, or can you please describe that again?
The breakdown, there's a total of 19,650 square feet of retail. As for the actual breakout of how many retail spaces, I think it's a question that's going to be covered in architecture.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, just one other question in terms of your outside agency reviews. You didn't mention Treatment Works or Bureau of Safe Drinking Water. I'm assuming those DEP permits will have either been
That's
applied
correct.
for or
Yeah,
will be?
you're correct. We will need a Treatment Works approval as well as the BWSC. So that will be provided.
I had a few questions before you go on. You mentioned that you had incorporated green infrastructure into your stormwater management. Can you just kind of provide some more details on the green infrastructure you incorporated?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned previously, we have 2 proposed underground small-scale infiltration basins. Small-scale infiltration basins are considered as green infrastructure per NJDEP. In addition to that, as pretreatment before any runoff makes its way into the underground basins, they will be collected through 3 filter systems, which are also certified as green infrastructure by NJDEP as well.
And I thought you mentioned something about a green roof at one point, or did I make that up?
I think there was a comment from the Environmental Commission regarding a green roof. The current design as it stands with the 2 small-scale infiltration basins, along with the provided pretreatment, already does comply with the township as well as NJDEP requirements. I did want to note, and I think it's going to be testified to a little bit further in more detail, that the amenity area is going to be vegetated and planted over. So it will have vegetation, but NJDEP does have specific requirements for what they would consider as a best management practice, a green roof. So it won't necessarily follow those guidelines just because, again, we already do comply with stormwater management from that regard. But the amenity areas for the courtyard, that's going to be rooftop above the podium, for the garage will be vegetated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. You mentioned that there was minimal light spillage over to the adjacent commercial property. Can you just detail for the board what you mean by minimal?
Yeah, absolutely. I can get the exact numbers. If I pull up this plan.
Just reference what sheet of the plan set you're looking at
Sure
when you
thing.
go through the numbers. Thank you.
Okay, so this is going to be the lighting plan, which is sheet 10 of the site plans that were submitted. So there are some instances, just because there is very close proximity to the proposed curb line to the property line, where we have a couple light fixtures that are forward-throwing, however, just the nature of the actual way the light gets modeled in.
Why don't
there
you
are-
just identify which property line you're speaking about?
Yeah, so specifically looking at the northern property line right now, there are a handful of light fixtures in between the proposed curb line along the north and the property line that is adjacent to the commercial development on the left-hand side of the plan. There is an instance, which I'm looking at the plan right now, where the highest point along the property line is 1.8 foot candles. But that does fairly quickly diminish as you work your way into the adjacent commercial development.
Last question, or one of the last questions. Did you conduct soil test pits for the stormwater management?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And I didn't have a chance to look. Did you label those locations on the revised plans?
Yes, those are labeled on the revised drainage plan.
And now, really last question, and I don't know if you'll be able to answer it or not. Do you know if there's any construction signage or sales trailers proposed?
There is actually. So that was actually also incorporated into the site plan set, specifically on
Can you maybe bring, if you can bring that up, just to show the board where the locations are?
Absolutely.
And it's a construction trailer, not a sales trailer, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there won't be any sales trailer or rental trailer? Are they rental
No.
units or they are?
They are, yes.
So this is going to be on sheet 11, just for reference.
Okay, and just to clarify, this is the existing
This is
civil
the submitted
plan set
plans.
that was submitted to the
Yep.
board. Just identify the sheet you're referring to.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the soil erosion sediment control plan, sheet 11 of the plan set that was submitted to the board. There is a proposed trailer location at the southern side of the sheet, which would be, I guess you can say, adjacent to the bank parking.
It's labeled as temporary sales trailer,
Yeah,
but the
it's referred to as
indication it's a
sales trailer.
construction trailer? Okay. That's the one though, right?
Yes, that's correct.
That should be clarified to say construction trailer, yes.
We'll make sure that's revised, yes.
And then you're proposing fencing all around the site during construction? 6-foot-high fencing, just,
There's a combination of fencing being proposed between silt fencing, for instance, as required by SED,
yeah.
in addition to construction fencing as well.
And does the construction fencing, is it going to go all the way around the site, including the frontage on South Livingston Avenue?
Yes.
And how high is the fencing?
The fencing, I believe, was 6 feet. I can double check the construction detail as well. Currently 8 feet for the construction fencing.
How tall?
8 feet?
Is it also going to have canvas?
There's currently none proposed.
So it's just going to be open fencing along the entire front of the property?
If you'd like to see screening on the temporary, if you would like to see, if the board would like to see temporary screening on the construction fencing, we can accommodate that.
Yeah, we
That's
typically,
desirable.
I think we typically prefer that.
Yes,
And if it's, canvas and it starts getting ripped up, it needs to be replaced.
that's no problem.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just continuing along with what the engineer talked about, understanding that this is an incredibly busy street with lots and lots of activity going on, both residential and commercial, and traffic. Besides the fencing, is there also going to be, and I think you were talking about this, the hay bales and/or other along the front to stop any kind of erosion and dirt from coming out onto the street and the sidewalks?
Absolutely, yes. We're going to end up having to provide all that for the HEP SED, and we're going to prepare a design that will conform and is approved by their office.
And areas, those areas predominantly the main sidewalks along that street to be cleaned nightly during construction.
Yeah, I think that's a standard practice for a road like this.
While I'm up, there's a number of items in the Environmental Commission's report, one being addressing and monitoring air quality during demolition and construction. Again, understanding you have a lot of residents immediately surrounding this area, is that something that's going to be done?
Yeah, we can certainly provide the air quality monitoring. Let me pull up that specific comment letter.
If it's going to be done, just so that it's submitted to the engineering department for their review during the course of this, so that your satisfaction.
And we also do have, I did reference in my opening that the applicant has entered into a redevelopment agreement with the township, and there is a requirement for progress meetings and status meetings throughout the construction of the project, which is a contractual obligation at the request of the township professionals. And we also have an obligation to maintain the site in an orderly fashion throughout the construction process as well.
Okay. But the air quality during demolition, I don't know if you finished that response. I think you were looking, I don't know if you got the answer you wanted to give.
No, absolutely, yeah, excuse me, absolutely, yes, we would agree to provide that during construction.
Okay, and provide that to the engineering department.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think we may have discussed this at the track, but I don't remember the answer anymore. If you've done any investigation, some of these buildings have been around for a long time, and if there's any asbestos within the interiors of any of the buildings that are coming down, and to ensure that that's handled.
Yeah, it's going to be part of, that's going to be handled as part of the demolition approval.
The location of a generator on the site, which I know was agreed to be, can you just show on the plan where that's going to be?
So there's no generators on the actual site level. I believe that's going to be a rooftop item, but we do have some electrical transformers, but.
We have a rooftop generator on the architectural plans.
Correct.
Which will be
You're
testified
putting a
to.
rooftop generator?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
And what fuel are we using for that?
We'll get the answer to that. I don't think this witness is able to testify to it, but it'll be the architect. But it would be
You have any issues?
natural gas, I believe, is what I'm being told.
Huh?
Natural gas.
It'll be natural gas?
Yes.
Okay. And obviously, the screening and the sound testing of that to meet whatever the codes are, again, residents around the immediate area.
Typically, there would be an emergency testing perhaps, or just a weekly testing during, daytime hours. The board could impose some sort of time period when we could conduct those tests, and we'd have to comply with the decibel requirements at the property line, which is another standard condition, and we'd be happy to stipulate to that.
I just want to jump in one real quick on the fencing, and particularly along South Livingston Avenue, given where the buildings are going to be built. Is the entire sidewalk going to be out of commission? And if so, it seems to me almost inevitable you're going to have to take the whole sidewalk, and just want to ensure that there's some plan in place to direct pedestrians to go wherever they got to go across the street. Or do you think you're going to be able to leave any of that sidewalk accessible?
The sidewalk is proposed to be replaced. So
No, I
obviously,
meant in terms of the fencing, inside or outside, while it's under construction. Is there going to be a walkable sidewalk on that side of the road?
So we have to coordinate also with Essex County on that item because it's a county road. But
Right.
there will be, we'll coordinate with the county and also with the board on a pedestrian safety plan.
Okay.
For
Yeah, so I just want to make
pedestrian
sure.
traffic during
My
construction
guess is
activities.
it's not going to be available.
So before we finish, you'll have an answer to that will be on the record of what we're talking about.
Not tonight, but, okay.
I've got some more questions. The parking layouts, is that something that's going to be dealt with by you or by someone different, or an expansion of what we're talking about now? I know there had been discussion about the EV stations and where they are and moving them to the front by the entrances. And I know there's some questions from the fire department in their memos. And I know time is, I don't want to cut it short, but I also want to make sure that the memos that we talked about that you have are addressed.
Absolutely.
And that we have answers to them on the record for the board here, not just, that you have them and that they've been reviewed. And I know we went over a lot of these at the track as well.
We did,
I
yes.
just want to make sure that those issues get on the board.
That's no problem. The parking certainly will be addressed by the architect. Sam, if there's, we do have some exterior parking that's
Yeah,
shown
so-
there, which is part of the civil set. So certainly any questions about that, the engineer could speak to. But the majority of the
Is the parking area totally enclosed? Is it open? How does that?
So I would suggest this, to defer that to the architect then,
Okay.
because we're going to go into the inside of the building, and that's
The
for the
location
architect.
of the EV stations, is that
Yes.
going to be with you?
I will note that there are 27 EV stations at the rear of the site. So that would be at the eastern face of the building, with the remainder, which I think would be 53 EV spaces within the garage.
So obviously, the ones that are outside are not an issue because those are easy for the fire department to get to. The location of the ones in the garage, they had requested try to get as close to an entrance as possible so that they don't have to attempt to get inside if one of those, God forbid, catch on fire.
No, the point is well taken, and I believe we did make plan revisions in that regard.
Okay.
That would be addressed by the architect
Oh,
on his
okay.
affirmative
Right. All right.
testimony, though.
Fine.
Yeah, certainly.
That's mine for right now.
So a lot of the fire department's memos then should be addressed toward the architect? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I believe the majority
The
was, yeah.
HVAC, the type of sprinkler system, how are the different areas of the complex accessed in case of emergency, ventilation system, Knox boxes, any flame-producing devices in any of the common areas, that would be for the architect?
Yes, and
Okay.
we'll certainly put that testimony on the record.
Okay.
But the good thing is, in almost all instances of comments in the reports, our response from the applicant has been that we'll comply and we'll coordinate with all of the
You'd
comments
just like to
that
get it
we've
all on the
received.
record? And
That's no
yeah.
problem at all. Happy to do that, too.
Any other questions?
Just one
Different- go ahead.
last one, and I think engineering touched on it, or you may have touched on it briefly as well, that water and sewer, and I believe there was a report by Mont McDonald, who was hired by the board.
Yes.
Is there any specific comments pertaining to that? Or whatever comments they had, they're basically going to be complied with?
those comments are going to be complied with. They were essentially just asking for minor design changes in terms of the construction details that were on the plans, or a different alternative layout to where we're punching in for the sanitary sewer, or things of that nature. So those comments are intended to be complied with.
Thank you.
I would just add, with regard to Motmac's comments, one of their comments is that you TV and clean the downstream sewers. I always recommend do it sooner than later. You know, it tends to get in the way of applicants getting their TWA permit signed. So just something to keep in mind. Schedule that sooner than later.
Yeah, appreciate the note.
Any other questions from the board? Are there any questions from the public as to this witness? Not seeing any. Okay, so it's 10:25. We're not going to start a new witness now.
Thank you. I thank you for your time
We go
this
until
evening.
10:30.
We appreciate accommodating us at this hour. Mr. Chairman, I would just ask, if we may, carry this on the record to the next available meeting date, so as to not have to notice again.
Correct. So Jackie, what's our next date?
Mr. Chairman, the board can confirm Tuesday, August 5th at 7:30.
Okay, so this matter will be continued to Tuesday, August 5th, beginning at 7:30. No further notice will be required. This is the public's notice as to the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the board. We appreciate your time this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have all your questions, don't worry. I had them out before you were.